other industries hold themselves to a much higher standard than our own. The gun industry, as these people themselves will admit, is full of incredibly small, petty bitches, basically. Literal bitches. They complain about the smallest bit of criticism. If you criticize their products too hard, they will cut you out of the community and deem you dangerous to their bottom line, which maybe you will be. However, in other industries, silly industries, let's say, people legitimately get held to account. This is a gentleman that I've followed for a very long time. This is Gamers Nexus. Gamers Nexus follows hardware for the most part, and video games, a little bit of video game news and some other stuff like that, but mostly video game stuff. And for gamers, their standards are insanely high. Now, for those of you who don't know, I used to be in the car industry, and then I used to be in the computer industry, and then I ended up in guns. So I've spent much more time doing other things than I have with firearms. So Gamers Nexus, this is just a great public service announcement, because guess what? MSI leaked 600,000 warranty records, names, addresses, numbers, phone numbers. Let's go over here, just completely online, you know? And Gamers Nexus, being the chads that they are in a gaming industry focused on video games and video games hardware, they hold companies to a much higher standard. Now, MSI, if you're not familiar with, MSI has a value of $65 billion. They dwarf just about every firearms company out there. Another video, MSI Killshot. Is that showing on screen? It is, because guess what? MSI was paying people for reviews. MSI was threatening people with reviews. When somebody put out a negative video on a MSI product, MSI reached out, offered to pay them more money, to threaten them to not give them more product, threaten legal action in some cases as well, for just things like bad thumbnails, bad video titles, all sorts of horrible things. And other industries absolutely call it out better than ours. They hold these companies their feet to the fire in almost every instance. They hold other content creators. Linus Tech Tips, probably the biggest computer space channel out there, millions and millions of subs. Turns out not everything was ethical, so guess what? They get called out. Turns out not all their videos are accurate, so guess what? They get called out. And this happens in a lot of places, and it is not just the bigger channels as well. You have smaller guys going out over it as well, because guess what? The industry focused on gamers holds their content creators to a much higher standard than the gun industry that, again, in theory, sells life-saving devices. Here's another one by Jay's 2 Cents, also a great channel if you're into this sort of products. And he goes over some of Asus's, their anti-consumer practices, some of the other things that they've done, bad QC as well. Where have we seen that before? Guess what? They call it all out because these people have legitimate standards. Now, do we need to go even further? We might as well. Into the entertainment sphere, which is another sphere that I am indirectly linked to in some other ways. This is a channel called Grizzy. Grizzy is, Linus race mixing tips. Yeah, exactly. Anyways, Grizzy, this is a new channel, and his channel is dedicated to calling out losers shilling over the latest consumer product, whether that be Star Wars, Marvel, or anything in between. He just makes fun of them because they're losers, and he calls them out. That's his entire thing. So the gun industry being the only one that gets that sort of thing? Absolutely not. Okay, let's look at the entertainment industry. This is Mahler, a fantastic breakdown channel. This is one of his shortest videos, clocking in at 46 minutes. Absolutely devastating shills for crying over something as pathetic as a lightsaber being read in a Star Wars TV show. So to be clear, guys, other people are held to a much higher standard of you, and you can't even meet that. This is Ryan Kinnell, another good guy, calling out Rotten Tomatoes. Guess what? What was Rotten Tomatoes doing? A review aggregate website. They were paying people for positive reviews. Yep, to boost numbers on certain shows so that they could get their advertising dollars. Guess what? they got called out for that. So I mean, come on. Like, we're not going to watch these videos. This is absolutely miserable. But the makeup industry holds themselves to a higher standard than certain gun tubers do. And I mean, these are literally like insufferable people. To get this far into these videos and to go through some of the stuff that they get into is miserable, right? I would rather paint the ceiling than finish some of these videos, but they actually hold people to account, call out companies, and have higher standards than whatever the heck these people are.